is good to be here this morning.
Welcome back.
Our call to worship this morning is adapted from Reverend Lynn Cox. Come, you wanderers who find yourselves on a journey of surprise and wonder. Come, you who emerge into this place as an act of liberation. Come, you who seek a life of mindfulness and a place to test your thoughts. Come, you who bring hearts of all kinds, heavy hearts, hearts broken open in revelation, hearts full of love to share. Come, you who seek courage, and you who have more courage than you realize. Let us this morning once again gather courage, love, mindfulness, and a sense of purpose. We gather as people of all ages, of different abilities, backgrounds, and different perspectives. We share a covenant, direction for our shared journey, and a commitment to encourage and challenge one another to spiritual growth. This path asks much from us. Let us move forward with love. Let us move forward with appreciation for one another. Let us move forward knowing that we are not alone. Whoever you are, whatever your gifts, you are welcome to join this journey. Please join in singing our opening hymn. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit to sing Come, Come, Whoever You Are.
Come, come, whoever you are, wonder, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wonder, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wonder, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come.
For those of you attending the service on Zoom, this can be a time for you to get your own candle or chalice. This morning's chalice lighting words are by Atticus Palmer. We call this light before us in hope that we may always remain a strong community, working together to make the world a better place. When we are grieving or sad, when we are challenged, when we need help, this flame guides us out of the darkness. When we are cheerful, when we celebrate, when we accomplish a great task, when we return to a place that makes us happy. This chalice reminds us to share our happiness with others. Good morning. I'm David Early, and it is my honor to be your worship.
I think we left the covenant out of the script.
You put it after the welcome in the last thing you gave me.
Oh, that's my mistake.
Covenant now?
covenant now. Yeah, we're a little rusty. You know, I've been gone for 5 months and make a few, you know.
This is normally a covenant place, so let's
Getting back into the
let's covenant now. Please recite our covenant in English and in Spanish. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, thus do we covenant. La doctrina de esta iglesia es el amor. La búsqueda de la verdad es su sacramento. El servicio es su oración. Vivir juntos en paz. Buscar el conocimiento en libertad. Servir a la humanidad en comunión. Este es nuestro pacto. That's okay. Just a reminder before I say my welcome that we would like you to make sure your cell phones are on silent or vibrate or off. Thank you. Good morning. I'm still David Early, and it is my honor to be your worship associate for today's service. This is Emerson Unitarian Universalist Church, named for the great American transcendentalist, writer, and Unitarian minister Ralph Waldo Emerson. We are an active liberal religious community that has been part of the West Valley for over 65 years. I welcome you to this community of hope and love, of peace and justice, of wholeness and healing. It is wonderful to be with you all for worship this morning in this sanctuary of spiritual freedom, where we celebrate and encourage the diversity of heritage, culture, beliefs, and experience shaping our individual visions of truth. From my first months attending Emerson starting in April 2014, I have cherished my time here on Sunday mornings for its spiritual guidance and teachings, relevant life lessons, enlightenment of liberal progressive causes which both align with our 7 principles and inspire real and consequential activism, and delightful conversation with genuinely good and smart people before and after the service who share my values. These have been the constants that make Emerson a healing and calming space for me in dealing with emotions arising out of personal life situations, wider world concerns, or both. And being truly together in person, seeing the faces, hearing the voices, interacting in conversation, embracing, smiling, laughing, every part of being in the same space for worship enhances the experience and makes it a personal and cathartic place of communal bonding. Emerson acknowledges the Gabrielino, Tongva, and Chumash peoples as the original inhabitants of where our church stands today. Part of the world the Gabrielino Tongva know as Tovangar. It remains part of their lasting identity and heritage. Our existence as a spiritual community can never be fully understood without appreciating the depth of the loss of their land in generations past and the enduring hopes for the renewed vitality of these cultures in years to come. If you are joining us in worship for the first time, we gladly welcome you to our service and invite you to fill out your information in the online guest book document in the chat or in the guest book in the foyer for those of you here in the sanctuary, so you may be informed about future services and other opportunities for gathering with the Emerson community during the week. We also have a website that is regularly updated with church information. If you would like to have a joy or sorrow read aloud later in the service during our embracing meditation, submit it by clicking on the link, which is also posted in the chat. And you may also, if you haven't done so already, write a joy or concern in the Book of Life. The offering might be a good time to do that if you wish to do that. Everyone online is invited to join in our virtual coffee hour in Zoom for service, for after the service for fellowship and conversation.
One of the things that I have missed is the opportunity to tell you, all of you, I know my daughter's here. Do you want to bring her in for the story? Since this is particularly geared towards everyone, actually. And so I've missed this opportunity. I've gotten to tell plenty of stories, but there's something special about sharing books that are ostensibly meant for children with everyone, because there's sometimes the simplicity of the message is there. And this morning, our story is called Goodbye Friend, Hello Friend by Corey Doerfeld. And it's a book about moments of transition, moments of change, which is kind of what our service is about this morning. Every goodbye leads to a hello. Goodbye to sitting alone is hello to sitting together. Goodbye to outside. If it'll advance. And it's stuck. There was the sitting together. There we go. Goodbye to outside is hello to inside. Goodbye to snowmen is hello to puddles. Goodbye to long walks, butterflies, and the sun is hello to long talks, fireflies, and the stars. Goodbye to an empty bowl is hello to a full heart. Goodbye to only watching is hello to joining in. Goodbye to almost giving up is hello to one more try. Goodbye to superpowers is hello to sweet dreams. But sometimes, when you least expect it, a goodbye comes along that really feels like the end. Sometimes goodbye is the last thing you want to say. Like when goodbye to holding tight is hello to letting go. Every goodbye leads to a hello. And one of the things I love about this story, aside from the simplicity of its message, is just a reminder that that's kind of what life is like. It's a series of changes, of transitions, of saying goodbye, letting go of something. But that also means a time for saying hello to to something new, some other change. And those moments can be full of complex emotions, sometimes bittersweet, sometimes sadness, sometimes excitement, sometimes all together. And it's a good reminder, though, that every goodbye always leads to a hello. I now invite you to join me in saying our unison affirmation. We are Unitarian Universalists, a people of open minds, loving hearts, and welcoming hands.
The wisdom of the great Chief Seattle reminds us, all things are connected. Whatever befalls the earth, befalls the children of the earth. All things share the same breath, the beast, the tree, the man. The air shares its spirit with all the life it supports. We did not weave the web of life, we are merely a strand in it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. This we know. Treat the earth well. It was not given to you by your parents, it was loaned to you by your children. We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. Only after the last tree has been cut down, only after the last river has been poisoned, only after the last fish has been caught, only then will we find money, cannot be eaten.
The offering that we take each Sunday isn't just a stale habit. It's an opportunity to recommit to this place and to this people. Our offering is an affirmation, a yes. When we give, we say yes to something we value. With our gifts freely given, may we say yes to the values of our faith. May our offering help us practice Unitarian Universalism within and beyond our congregation as tools to empower our mission. The words of Erica A. Hewitt. The offering will now gratefully be taken up and given to the ushers. And you have options to give online or through the Vanco Faith app. Thank you.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Every Sunday, we take time in our service to lift up the joys and sorrows from within our community and in the wider world. This week, in our virtual book of life, someone with no attribution has just written, "Please continue to send healing energy and love to Kevin Matthey, to Pat Lindenauer, and Pam Randall." And now I invite you to, for those of you who are here in the sanctuary, to speak into the space And for those of you who are joining us via Zoom, you can type into the chat any joys or sorrows, any names or occasions that are on your heart this morning, and that you would like lifted up into the care of this community in this our embracing meditation. All that has been spoken, and all that is shared, and all that we hold in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. We offer these into the embrace of this beloved community. It's been a while since leading people in prayer or meditation for me, but I've been following the lead of someone offering one just about every day, which is my daughter. We've started saying a little prayer blessing before we eat dinner. And so it's short and simple, and this is responsive. So I invite you to say back what I say. It is a blessing. It is a blessing to be. It is a blessing to be here. It is a blessing to be here together. Make us aware we are a sanctuary, each made holy and loved right through with thanksgiving. We are a living sanctuary anew. Let's sing that again. Make us aware we are a sanctuary, each made holy and loved right through with thanksgiving. We are a living sanctuary anew. One last time. Make us aware we are sanctuary, each made holy and loved right through
Coming back together with my Emerson community in person has been a true joy, which I greatly anticipated after over a year and a half on Zoom, as I mentioned in my welcome. Recently, I had another uplifting experience of reconnecting with a community that I had been part of since 1987 when I started teaching percussion part-time at Santa Monica College. Musicians who rehearse once a week in community college bands and orchestras and perform concerts during the year. Since 2012, I have played percussion in the orchestra and concert band at Los Angeles Valley College. The conductor of the Valley College Band, who was also a friend and instrumental music teacher colleague in LAUSD, contacted me to be one of the percussionists for a concert on May 23rd, the first in-person performance by the band since December 2019. It was my first time playing for a live audience since October 2019. Everything I experienced in the in-person rehearsals brought back familiar feelings of camaraderie and pure joy of music making, playing different percussion instruments, working with other percussionists to make our parts sound better, enjoying a fun dialogue with the conductor in rehearsal, as well as her interaction with the band members and her productive rehearsals. I also assisted the conductor with balancing the band's sound at her request and offered an arrangement of the players that better fit the small stage. She used that and was very grateful. I had missed the free flow and collaboration of making music together that is hard, if not impossible, to achieve on Zoom. The ultimate experience was the performance itself, as the band played really well, inspired by playing for a live audience, friends, relatives, as well as LA Valley College music faculty, two of whom spoke with me after the concert in delightful conversation. The post-concert talks with the conductor, musicians, friends of theirs, and a dear teacher friend in the audience were more familiar and fulfilling rituals. To be part of this historic concert for my conductor friend, the band, and Los Angeles Valley College was a genuine and memorable pleasure, which I will cherish always. The communal experience of making music, the sights and sounds, for an enthusiastic audience after a long deprivation produced a profound energy for all. As I exclaimed out loud in the parking lot after the concert in the presence of the conductor and other musicians, the community of community musicians is very special, as I'm sure so many of us have felt in various ways. It was good to be together again.
As I think most of you know, I have been on sabbatical for the past 5 months. So if you're new here, welcome. It's good to be with you all. And I have to say, and I look forward to getting to know you. But I have to say, as much as I liked being on sabbatical, and I did very much appreciate the sabbatical, spending more time with family and friends, a lot more time in the garden, hands in dirt, connecting with nature, or getting lost in several good books. I also missed you. I wondered how you were doing, how your health was, how work was going, how you were coping with any losses, how your volunteering with the church was going, how you were handling the tragedies and outrages that seem to keep popping up over and over. The COVID surge, the war in Ukraine, the drought, the imminent threats to reproductive justice, the shootings, I hope you were able to ground yourself, to find ways to care for your mental and spiritual well-being. I missed you and was really looking forward to seeing you again as I came back from sabbatical. But I wasn't expecting to come down with COVID on the last day of my sabbatical. I mean, that's not exactly true, since River had tested positive the day before. I figured by that point there was a decent chance. So on my first day back, I wasn't happy to feel congested, fatigued, and just blah. With a sick child home from school as well. I had also been looking forward to coming to church last Sunday without, for once in a great while, not actually having to lead the service and just being able to be present and reconnect with folks and maybe give a few hugs if people felt comfortable with it. But I couldn't. A lesser disappointment, my hair appointment also had to be canceled. So I returned to the pulpit one last time as your historically inaccurate Jesus. Not how I had envisioned returning from sabbatical. Yet even though I couldn't be here last Sunday with a nice new haircut, I'm glad that I was still able to join the service via Zoom and contribute a small piece to the service. And I'm so grateful that our tech team has helped with the upgrades to the system so that I could actually speak live to the folks here in the sanctuary, and those, as well as those joining on Zoom from my home without having to worry about anyone being sick. And I don't know again when I will have the opportunity to experience Emerson worship from Zoom. And so it was nice to get to have that perspective and to see how that's going and to connect with the people who are probably there on Zoom today, who I can't see but whose lovely faces, or at least names in a text box, I was able to see last week. And I'm glad that I finally tested negative for COVID just yesterday so that I could at least be here today for my first Sunday back in the pulpit. So my return from sabbatical did not play out exactly the way I hoped it would. And that felt like an echo of how it has felt writ large of coming back from the pandemic. Thinking back, after over a year, almost a year and a half of waiting, we finally planned to be back together in person last September until the Delta variant pushed that back to November. And then when we did get back together in November, 2 months after that, the Omicron variant moved everything back online for several more weeks. And now we're back in person, and cases are up again. And even though it's far from perfect, it is good to be back together. Even if some people are still joining online because it's more accessible and safer, even if we are still finding our way to physically or spiritually come back to this space, even if so many of us are feeling worn out by all we have lived through, are living through in our personal lives, as well as in the city, in this country, across this planet, all we are facing. It is good to be together. Perhaps especially because of all we've been through. It is good to be together with one another, caring for each other and being held. We have missed each other. I have missed you. We human beings are social animals. That's how we've evolved to be together in community. Most of us aren't suited to live like hermits. Now, it's true that a lot of us adapted to solitude during the pandemic, and solitude has its place and its benefits. Many great spiritual thinkers and teachers, Moses, Jesus, Buddha and Muhammad, Plato, Henry David Thoreau, Albert Camus, Mother Teresa, Thich Nhat Hanh, the list goes on, all sought periods of solitude. And it was during those times that they often had transcendent experiences or greater clarity and insight. But they always returned to be back among people afterwards. Well, Thoreau spent his 2 years in a cabin on the banks of Walden Pond for one of the great experiments in solitude, well documented in the book Walden. He often had friends, like our church's namesake, Ralph Waldo Emerson, dropping by for a visit. And he frequently made the short trek back into town to have dinner at a friend's house or to ask his mom to do his laundry. True story. Because we need one another. We need one another, even if we might not realize it. You know, as a minister, weekends aren't really weekends in the way most people experience them. So during my sabbatical, I was determined that Sunday morning was me time, which usually meant garden time or, occasionally reading or watching something if the weather wasn't great. But Easter weekend, I was down in Long Beach, staying at my parents' house, and ended up attending services at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Long Beach, the church where I grew up and attended for over 20 years until I left for seminary. Now, I hadn't planned to go to church that Sunday morning, but Anna River and I had been over to the minister's house the day before to hang out with her and her family. And she had invited me. She was like, "No, come to the service. I'd love to have you." And so I decided, what the heck? Why not? And it was a little weird, despite it being Easter, one of the big attendance studies Sundays where in a normal year it would have been hard to find a seat, and they would frequently open the side doors and put chairs out into the patio to accommodate the extra attendance. The sanctuary was about half full. Oh yeah, we're still in a pandemic. It's not the same as it was, I thought. And the choir, which used to have some 20 to 25 people singing it every Sunday, only had about 9. And the singing, on the whole, just didn't sound as robust with everyone masked. But I was so glad I was there. And personally, it was nice just to be in church without having to think about leading the service. Although I did still start thinking about what my message might be if I were here in the pulpit that Sunday. It's really hard to turn that switch off. But it felt great to be uplifted by the sermon and the songs. But I really, especially enjoyed seeing people who I hadn't seen in a few years, people I had known for, in some cases, over 30 years. To share hugs or elbow bumps and catch up with people I didn't realize how much I missed. 90 minutes after the service ended, I was still busy socializing, and my family basically had to drag me away so that we could go to our Easter party. kind of funny since I had felt ambivalent about attending less than 24 hours prior. But it was a reminder of how good it was, how good it is to be together. How important those connections are because we need one another. As George Odell writes in one of the readings in our hymnal, we need one another when we mourn and would be comforted. We need one another when we are in trouble and afraid. We need one another when we are in despair, in temptation, and need to be recalled to our best selves again. We need one another when we would accomplish some great purpose and cannot do it alone. We need one another in the hour of success when we look for someone to share our triumphs. We need one another in the hour of defeat, when with encouragement we might endure and rise again. We need one another when we come to die and would have gentle hands prepare us for the journey. All our lives, we are in need, and others are in need of us. We are still recovering from this pandemic, still figuring out what it means to be together again, how we come together as a community that exists now both in person and online. We are figuring all of this out, and it won't be the same as before. As in our story this morning, we are saying goodbye to something and saying hello to something else. Because it can't be the same as before. And there may be a sense of loss, but there's also opportunity. Goodbye, hello. So, as I come back from my sabbatical, and as we come back from this pandemic, I want to have conversations with you. I want us to have conversations about what it is you're looking for. Your dreams about how we might rethink, reinvent how we do church. What you'd like to make happen. Oftentimes, it's pretty common for when a minister comes back from sabbatical for things to shift and shake up a little bit, both from what maybe the minister has gone through in their sabbatical and what the congregation has gone through during the same time. And so we have that opportunity, which is just, compounded or expanded, however you want to call it, by this pandemic, by this hugely transformative time we have been through. And so I'm looking forward to these conversations, to this envisioning of how we do church, of who we are as a church. And so we can do this one-on-one in conversations, or a couple of months from now, we're going to be having one of those kind of a group conversation as a sort of post-sabbatical, post-pandemic workshop on August 7th. So if you want to put that on your calendar, you've got plenty of time. August 7th after the service. We'll have Melissa James, who is one of our people who works for the UUA, our representative, is going to help facilitate that workshop. So I'm excited about that opportunity. And it is exciting and a little scary, this moment of transition. And as we figure all of this out, all I can say is, it is a blessing to be here together. Please join me in our closing hymn, Circle Round for Freedom. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit.
Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us in prison, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children, keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children, keep the circle whole. One more time. Circle.
I invite you to remain risen. And before we close, I just want to say thank you to our worship associate, David Early, to our wonderful musicians, to Kevin Matthey and Eloise Porter, and our choir, with the last choral anthem until the fall. And so I just want to share some love and gratitude for their music today and throughout the year. Y'all sounded amazing this morning, and thanks to Todd with that spoken word part. That was really great. And thank you to Adam and Conrad Nissenholtz up there in our tech booth. And thanks to everyone who helps out with the welcome and the hospitality, and everyone who just participated and joined us here today in person or online. A couple very quick announcements. Please stay after the service for our virtual coffee hour on Zoom and in-person coffee hour in the pavilion. Also, next Sunday, a little after the service, starting at 1:30, there's going to be an Interfaith Solidarity March. I know some of you have been to those several years in a row. In fact, Tracy is wearing her Interfaith Solidarity Network shirt, her purple shirt from that. So it's a great opportunity. It starts at Zella Park in Granada Hills, and so there's a mart, there's a rally, and then a march, and then there's going to be food provided by the Sikh community, and some wonderful music. You can find more information on interfaithsolidaritynetwork.org. It's also in our e-blast, so I really hope to see you there for that. As a way of addressing many of the justice issues that have been facing us over the past while. And also the Sunday after that is our annual congregational meeting where we'll be voting on the budget as well as a few other things. So I hope you make it to the service on the 19th, or after the service on the 19th, whether you can join in person or online. And so I leave you with these words from the Reverend Cynthia Landrum. We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection, our concerns, our care for each other. Our services to each other, to our faith, and to the world continue. Until we are together again, friends, be strong, be well, be true, be loving.